this lesson we are going to learn to factor trinomials by kind of undoing the FOIL. And I know that probably doesn't make sense until you see what happens here. But for instance, this is just a review of if I were to ask you to multiply these two binomials, just a reminder that what you would do is you would take these two, your two firsts, multiply them. So your first times your first makes x squared. And then you would do your outsides. So you would have x times negative 4 is negative 4x. And then you would do, you're done with that x now. Now you're going to distribute 3 through by doing your insides and doing positive 3x. And then you'll take 3 times negative 4 and get negative 12. So notice your two backs. 3 times negative 4 makes your back right here. And your two fronts made your front right here. And then these two terms get combined. Negative 4x plus 3x, they get combined to make your middle term. Okay? So actually this would turn out to be x squared minus x minus 12. This term right here came from multiplying the two fronts. Okay? This term right here came from multiplying the two backs. And then this middle term right here in the middle is a combination of doing the outsides and the insides and putting them together. Okay? So what we're going to do now is I am going to give you this piece right here, and you're going to go backwards and get me back here. Okay? So that's what it's called when we undo the FOIL, or we're going to factor it that way. Alright, in this case we are going to actually solve this because it does have an equal sign in it, and so we'll talk about that at the beginning. But what I want to do is, first of all, have everything set equal to 0, which I do right here. This trinomial is set equal to 0. I want to make sure that I have my terms in descending exponents, which I do. I have a w squared and then w to the 1, and then a term that doesn't have a w in it. So I want to do that. And then you've got 3 terms. And what you are going to do here is you are going to undo the FOIL, okay? The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take the front term and you're going to list the factors of it. So the only way for me to get w squared, 1w squared, is to do w times w. That's all I can do. It's the only way to get w squared. Then on the back, to get, and I'm not going to worry about the signs right now, I just want to use the number 56, and I want to list all the factors of 56. So I could have 1 and 56, I could have 2 and 28, I could have 7 and 8, and I think that's it. Okay? Let's see, 4 and 14 could work too. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to make yourself 2 parentheses. Okay? And the 2 front terms have to multiply to make this right here. And we already know, we listed that right there, that w times w is the only way to get w squared. Okay? Now my 2 back numbers, which are these over here, have to multiply together to make 56. So I know that I could have 1 and 56, 2 and 28, 7 and 8, 4 and 14, and I'm just going to, you just have to play. So I'm going to put 1 and 56 right here, okay? Notice this is a negative sign, and the way to get a negative is to have, when you multiply 2 numbers to make a negative, you're going to multiply 1 positive and 1 negative, and we may need to switch those around just so you know, okay? So what I know right now is that my 2 fronts, my w times w, make w squared, which is my front. My 2 backs, 1 times negative 56, multiplied to make my back right here, which is negative 56. What I don't know is when I combine my outsides and my insides together, they need to add together to make the middle term, which in this case is w. So if I do this, if I do right there, I have negative 56w. And right here, I have positive 1w. When I take negative 56w, my outsides and my insides, which is 1w, and I add them together, I would get negative 55w. And I need to get 1w in the middle. So that is not going to work. I could, if I wanted to, switch my 1 and my 56 around. So I'm going to do that. But if I switch my 1 and my 56 around and put the 56 here and the 1 right here, all that does is it gives me negative W and it gives me positive 56W. So all that does in this case is it gives me positive 55W, and that doesn't help me. Okay, so I am done. I know for sure that 1 and 56 are not it. Okay, so I'm going to try a different one. And I am going to now try, instead of 1 and 56, I am going to try 2 and 28. And there is really no way to do this other than to just keep trying, and you'll start to notice some patterns as you do this, but you really have to just kind of start with doing trial and error. Okay, so now I'm going to go 2 and 28. Okay, when I check my outsides, I have negative 28W. When I check my insides, I have 2W, positive 2W, and so together that makes negative 26W. If I switch the 2 and the 28 around, all that will happen is I would have positive 28W and negative 2W. And either way, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to get the 1W that I need to get my middle term. Okay? I'm not going to get the 1W that I need to have right here. Okay? So 2 and 28 isn't it either. Okay? So now I'm going on to my next factor. 7 and 8. Okay? So I will try 7 and 8. So here we go. I know still that W times W in the front makes W squared. I know that 7 times negative 8 makes negative 56 in the back. Okay, has to make negative 56, so I need 1 positive and 1 negative. All right, now I'm going to check my outsides and my insides. Outsides, negative 8W. Insides, positive 7W. When I add negative 8 plus 7, that gives me negative 1W. And I need to have it be positive 1W. So what I am going to do is I could either switch the 7 and the 8 around, or I could switch the positive and the negative around, which I'm going to do. So now I'm going to make this one negative and this one positive. And it is still true that W times W gives me W squared. It is still true that negative 7 times positive 8 gives me negative 56. And now when I check my outsides and my insides, outsides, W times 8 is 8W. Insides, negative 7 times W is negative 7W. And when I combine that, I get my 1W, which I need in the middle. Okay? So that's how you would factor this one. Now, if I asked you just to factor it, you would be done. But I am asking you to solve this because it is set equal to 0. Okay? And basically, you need to know that 0 times anything gives you 0. So if what you're really doing is you're going to set each parentheses, this parentheses right here, W minus 7 equal to 0, and solve. And then you'll set the other parentheses, W plus 8 equal to 0, and solve it. To solve this one, I will add 7, and I will get W equals 7. And to add this one, or to solve this one, I'll subtract 8, and I will get W equals negative 8. Now, if you plug those back in, if I plug in 7 right here, I would have 7 minus 7 is 0, and 0 times, it makes no difference what's in that second parentheses. 0 times whatever's in that parentheses is going to make 0. Same thing with negative 8. If I plug negative 8 right there, negative 8 plus 8 makes 0. That parentheses turns to 0, and 0 times anything in the other parentheses, it doesn't matter what it's there, makes 0. Okay, so I have two answers here, 7 and negative 8. This one I'm only asking you to factor, and that is it. Okay, so notice my terms are in descending order already, which is great. My first term is a 7, so I want to list the factors of 7. They are 1 and 7. I have no other choice. Then over here, I want to list the factors of 9. So 9 could be 1 and 9, or it could be 3 and 3. Okay? And by the way, this is 7x squared, so I probably should list this as 1x and 7x. There's this imaginary 1 right there, okay, to make 7x squared. All right, so here we go. Two parentheses again. My two fronts have to multiply together to make 7x squared, and I only have one choice right here, 1x and 7x. That's it. That's my only choices. Okay. My two backs have to multiply together to make 9. So I have two choices, 1 and 9 or 3 and 3. So I'm going to just start by doing 1 and 9. When you have a positive right here, then you can multiply two positives to make a positive, or you can multiply two negatives to make a positive. So if this is a positive, you can either have this be plus plus, or you could have it be minus minus. Okay, we're going to try plus plus. Minus minus might work. Alright, so I know that 1 times 9 makes positive 9 in the back, which is good. But what I want to check is my outsides and my insides. Outsides, 9x. Insides, 7x. 9x plus 7x does not get me 64x. That doesn't work. Okay? Now I'm going to, what I need to do is I need to switch something. Okay, so instead of having 1 and 9, I'm going to try it the opposite way and do 9 and 1. Okay, so I will put the 9 here and the 1 here. Okay, I know that 9 times 1 is still 9, so my backs are still okay, but I need to check that middle, and the way you get your middle again is combining your outsides and your insides. So my outsides is 1x, my insides is 63x, 9 times 7x is 63x. X plus 63x does make 64x in the middle, and that's what I need to get right here is 64x. So if I were to FOIL out x plus 9 times 7x plus 1, I would get back to 7x squared plus 64x plus 9. So this actually right here is my answer. You can stop right there because you don't need to solve it. It does not have an equal sign in it. All I've asked you to do is factor, which is give me the two parentheses. Okay? Alright, here's one where you have to solve. In order to solve this, you need to have it set equal to 0. So I need to take and move that 28x over and move the 16 over to the other side. I like my x squared term, the one with the biggest exponent, to be positive. So I'm actually going to leave that one on the left side and move the other things over. So I will add 28x to both sides, and I will add 16 to both sides. And they will drop there. So I will have 10x squared plus 28x plus 16 equals 0. Okay, what I want you to notice on this one is that you can actually pull out a common term first, and I should have talked about that on the other two examples. The first thing you should always ask yourself is there anything that you can factor out? And in this case, 10, 28, and 16 are all divisible by the number 2. So I am going to pull a 2 out of there, and when I pull the 2 out of there, then 2 times 5x squared gives me 10x squared. 2 times 14x gives me 28x. And 2 times positive 8 gives me 16. So here's where I'm at. Okay? Now notice you have a trinomial inside that parentheses. And so now we're going to take the part that's inside the parentheses and we are going to factor it. But I don't want you to lose this. Make sure you bring that 2 down. And then for the parentheses, we are going to, of course, factor that trinomial. So first of all now, I want to list the factors of 5. Okay, so 5 could be 1 and 5, 1x I should say, and 5x to make 5x squared. That's it, that's all it can be, 1x and 5x, I have no other choice. 8 could be 1 and 8, or 2 and 4. Those are my choices for factors. Okay. So my two fronts, these two right here, have to make my front, which is this one right there. So I only have one choice, 1x and 5x. Okay? My two backs, this and this, have to make this back right here. So it could be 1 and 8, 8 and 1, 2 and 4, 4 and 2. Plus in the middle, so or plus back there, when there's a positive back there, it either could be positive, positive, or negative, negative. And I'm going to give you this, hint, hint, hint. If that's positive, it's going to be positive, positive. If it's negative, it's going to be negative, negative. Okay? But when this is positive, you have two choices, either plus, plus, or minus, minus. I'm going to make this one be plus, plus. Okay? And I'm just going to start with 1 and 8. Then what I want to do is I want to multiply my outsides and my insides and combine them and try and get that 14x that's in the middle. Okay? So here we go. Outsides, 8x. Insides, 5x. 8x plus 5x makes 13x, and I need it to be 14x. Okay? So that didn't work. 1 and 8 didn't work. Before I am finished with 1 and 8, I'm going to switch them around and try 8 and 1 first. Okay, and let's see if that works. Outsides, 1x. Insides, 40x. That makes 41x, so that's not it. So now what I've done is I've done everything I can do with the 8 and the 1. I know 8 and 1 are not factors. Okay, and now I'm going to go to 2 and 4, and I will try that. Okay, so here we go. Outsides, 4x, insides, 10x. 4x plus 10x does make 14x, which I need to have in the middle number here. So this is how it factors, right here, x plus 2 and 5x plus 4. And again, when it's set equal to 0 like that, and when there's an equal sign in there, you have to go one more step. And you're going to set each part equal to 0. So I'm going to go like this, 2 equals 0. I will take this parentheses, x plus 2 equals 0, and solve it. And I will take this parentheses, 5x plus 4 equal to 0, and solve it. Okay? On the far left, 2 never equals 0. If it was 2x, you could divide by 2 and x would be 0, but there is no x in here. 2 never equals 0. I actually don't need that. In the next set, I will subtract 2 and get x equals -2. In the next set, I will subtract 4 and get 5x equals -4. Divide by 5, and x equals -4/5. Okay, so I have 2 answers here. Alright, this also has an equal sign in it, and I want to take this 10x and I want to move it to the other side, and again you want your exponents in descending order, so I'm actually going to put that 10x in the middle. So then I have 8x squared minus 10x plus 3 equals 0. Okay, and now of course I will factor this. It is a trinomial, so I will factor it with 2 parentheses. I want to list my factors first of all of my first term. So 8x squared, and by the way, I should also look, is there anything I can pull out of 8, -10, and 3? That's the first thing you should ask yourself. Can I pull anything out of 8, -10, and 3? And I can't. There's no number and no variable that I have in common that can be pulled out, so that's good. Okay, so now I have 8x squared. The only ways to make 8x squared are 2x and 4x, or 1x and 8x. Okay, so those are my choices there. To get the 3 in the back, the only thing I can do is do 1 and 3. And that's it. Okay? So here we go. I'm going to start with my fronts. And I have 2 choices. I will start with the 2x and the 4x, just because that's listed first. And then on my back, so my 2x times 4x does make 8x squared in the beginning. Again, your 2 fronts have to make your front, which they did. My 2 backs, this times this, has to make positive 3. And again, when this is positive, you have 2 choices, either plus plus or minus minus. Okay, I will try plus plus to start with, and I think you'll see what happens. And then I only have 1 choice for factors, and they are 1 and 3. Okay? So here we go. When I try my fronts, 2x times 4x makes 8x squared. My back, positive 1 times positive 3 makes positive 3. And now I'm going to check my outsides and my insides. So on my outsides, 2x times 3 makes 6x. And my insides, 1 times 4x makes 4x. And 6x plus 10x, or 6x plus 4x makes positive 10x. But I need to have negative 10x in the middle. Okay? And remember that when this was positive right here, you had a choice. It could be positive, positive, or negative, negative. I'm getting positive x, but I need it to be negative 10x. And so I am going to switch those to minus, minus. Okay? And let's try that again. When I check my outsides and my insides now, my outsides are negative 6x, and my insides are negative 4x. And that does give me the negative 10x that I need in the middle. So this is how this one factors. And now I need, in this case, to solve it again, because it's set equal to 0, so I need to go that 1 extra step. If it was not set equal to 0, you would not have to do that. I'm going to take in each parentheses and set them equal to 0. And then, of course, just solve each equation. So add 1. 2x equals 1. Divide by 2. X equals 1/2. And if I plugged 1/2 into that first parentheses, it would turn that first parentheses into 0. And 0 times, it doesn't matter what's in the second parentheses, will make 0. Okay? On the other set, I will add 3. Divide by 4. And x equals 3/4. Same thing. If I plug 3/4 in for x into that second parentheses, it turns the second parentheses into 0, and 0 times anything makes 0. All right, we're coming down here. 6x squared plus 21x equals 9. So I will subtract 9 here, and that turns this into 6x squared plus 21x minus 9 equals 0. Okay? Again, you always want to ask yourself, is there anything you can pull out of here? Is there a number that goes into 6, 21, and 9? And there is. It's 3. 3 goes in there, and then I have 3x squared plus 7x minus 3. Because 3 times 3x squared, whoa, that's not right. 3 times 2x squared gives me 6x squared. 3 times 7x gives me 21x, and 3 times negative 3 gives me negative 9. Then I'm going to bring down that 3, and I want to make myself 2 parentheses. Okay? And then, of course, I want to list the factors. Okay? So listing the factors of 2x squared. The only way to get 2x squared is 1x times 2x. That's it. In the back, the only way to get 3 is 1 and 3. And that's it. Okay? So here we go. My 2 fronts, this times this have to make 2x squared. So 1x and 2x. Okay? My 2 backs, here and here, have to make negative 3. So 1 and 3, when this is a negative, 1 has to be positive and 1 has to be negative. Okay? So the only way to get a negative is to have a positive times a negative. Alright, so now we need to check our middles. So here we go. On the outside, negative 3x. On the inside, positive 2x. Negative 3x plus 2x gives me negative 1x, which I need 7x in the middle. So that's not it. Okay? I am going to switch the 1 and the 3 around and see if that helps. Okay, so here we go. You just have to try it. I know my fronts are okay, I know my backs are okay, so I need to check my outsides and my insides. Outsides, negative x. Insides, positive 6x. Negative x plus positive 6x gives me 5x. Okay? If I switched the positive and the negative, that would make this positive x and this negative 6x if I switched the positive and the negative around, which I still could do. And you might want to try it. That's what I would get, and that would not help me either. Okay? So here's the deal. On this one, I have used all of the combinations I can. I only have one choice with my front and my back, and I've tried them in both ways. I've tried combining them so that I switch them around or whatever. And in no way do I get what I need to get, which is 2x squared plus 7x minus 3. So this one, sometimes you guys, you're going to get ones that don't factor. And for right now in your math career, what I want you to write is no solution, but you have to add to this by factoring. Okay? There are solutions. We just don't know how to do them yet, and you will learn how to do that in your future math career. But it just doesn't work to find the solution by factoring. It is not a foolproof method. But it doesn't mean that there's no solution. Okay? So you have to add that by factoring piece in there. Okay? And there you go. And by the way, yeah, that's okay. All right, we're almost there. Now we've got x's and y's in there, but it's okay. It's still a trinomial, and the same rules still apply. Okay, so right here I'm going to list my factors of my front. The only way to get x squared is x and x. Right here I have to get 7y squared. The only way to get 7 is 1 and 7, and then I need my y's with it. So I'll have 1y and 7y. That's the absolute only way there is to get 7y squared. Okay? So here we go. My two fronts, this times this, have to make x squared. So I only had one choice over here. They were x and x. Okay. My two backs, this and this, have to make negative 7y squared. I only have one choice, y and 7y. When it's a negative here, you need to have one positive and one negative. Okay, so let's try this. My fronts, x times x makes x squared. My backs, y times negative 7y makes negative 7y squared. Now I need to check my outsides and my insides. Outsides, x times negative 7y is negative 7xy. Insides, x times y is positive xy. When I combine negative 7xy plus xy, I get negative 6xy. Notice that I want it to be positive 6. So what you need to do, actually in this case, is switch the positive and the negative around. Make this be negative and this be positive, and now try it again. Outsides, 7y times x is 7xy. Insides, negative y times x is negative xy, and then when you combine that, you get positive 6xy. So that's what this should look like. So don't be freaked out when there's two variables in there. And in this one, you only have to factor. You do not have to solve. So this is as far as you need to go. All right. Again, I want to ask myself, is there anything that I can pull out of here? Can I pull out a number or a variable that goes into 15x squared plus 11x minus 14? And I can't. So I will go ahead and do this. Okay. And now I want to list the factors in my front. So the factors of 15x squared would be 3x and 5x, or 1x and 15x. And that's the only ways I can get 15x squared. On my back, the factors of 14 would be 1 and 14, or 2 and 7. Okay? So here we go. I am going to try this. The two fronts have to make 15x squared. I'm going to start with 3x and 5x, and I am going to just leave them there until I've exhausted my options with 3x and 5x. Okay, so here we go, 3x and 5x. Then I'm going to try 1 and 14 first on the other side, so my two backs have to make my back. So I will try the 1 and the 14 factor first. If it's a negative back there, then you need to have one positive and one negative. Okay? Check your outsides and your insides. All right. Outsides. 3 times negative 14 is negative 42. Okay? And 1 times 5x is 5x. Oops, that should have an x in it. That is not going to give me 11x in the middle that I need. Okay, so now I'm going to switch the 14 and the 1. Okay, so notice I've left the 3x and the 5x, and I'm just switching the backs right now. 14 and 1. Okay, on the outsides, I'll have negative 3x. On the insides, I will have 70x. And again, that does not make 11x like I need in the middle. So, now I'm going to leave the 3x and the 5x. I'm not touching the 3x and the 5x. 14 and 1 does not appear to be it. So now I'm going to try 2 and 7. Okay? So here we go. Outsides, negative 21x. Insides, 10x. Negative 20x plus 10x is negative 11x. I need to have positive 11x in the middle instead of negative 11x, so I am going to switch the positives and the negatives around, and that should do it. Okay, so here we go. 3x times 5x is 14x. Oops, sorry, I did not do that right. I want to check my outsides and my insides. Outsides, 3x times 7 is 21x. Insides, negative 2 times 5x is negative 10x. And 21x minus 10x does make 11x in the middle, which is exactly what I need. So, when this happens, you guys, you just have to use trial and error, and try every combination that you can think of until you hopefully get one that's worked, or you exhaust all your combinations, and then there's no solution.